Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. Today we're going to be doing a haircut for a receding hairline. This is a request that I get a lot, and so I just wanted to take this mannequin head and kind of thin out the corners before doing this haircut. So one thing that I really like to do for hairlines like this is what I like to call the California crop. And basically it's a crop haircut that's a little bit more casual, a little bit more busted up, a little more texturized. It's not as kind of blunt and refined as the crops that you would see coming out of like the UK and Europe. It's kind of Californiaized. Now, some of these clients that you're seeing on the screen here, some of them have kind of deep recessions in the corners and some of them don't. The great thing about this haircut is a lot of times you kind of can't tell what's happening with the hairline. And so it's for this reason that it's kind of a great option for somebody who has thin corners. So to begin with, I'm going to cut the top of the haircut to a basic general square shape. I'm going to start this by taking a strip of hair right down the middle, elevating it straight up and cutting it parallel to the floor to a square, just like I would with basically any other haircut. This is kind of like the basic shape of almost every haircut out there. I am going to keep it, on the shorter side because it is kind of a crop haircut. What I like about this square shape is at the highest point of the head, the hair is the shortest, and then as you move outward toward the corners, you end up with more length, creating the square shape. And this makes the hair move really nicely. It makes it grow back really nicely too. So what I'm going to do here, you can see that I almost was about to cut the front there. I wasn't actually going to cut it. I was just doing that for a little drama in the video here. Rather than continuing the square shape up through the front of the haircut where we have those recessions, what I'm going to do is find some partings just behind the recessions and push the hair forward to look forward just enough hair to kind of build a strong perimeter in front of those recessions. So if I push this hair forward, I want to have just enough hair to kind of more or less hide the recessions. This is how I'm actually going to be changing the haircut to fit a head with deep recessions. Now, once I have those hairs sorted out of the way here, I'm going to go back and continue to create this square shape throughout the rest of the top of the haircut. Again, just like I would with any other random standard haircut. So what you'll notice is once I find these key pieces here, I don't know what I'll call them, the recession covers. And once I find them and push them out of the way, I want to make it a point throughout the rest of the haircut that I'm never going to move those from where they naturally fall to cut them. All the rest of the hair on the haircut, I can lift it up, I can move it when I'm cutting it, when I'm texturizing it, when I'm shaping it. Like here, I'm lifting the hair straight up, cutting it parallel to the floor. I'm not going to do that with these sort of key hairs, the recession covers, I guess is what I called them a minute ago, because I only want to cut those where they naturally fall. The reason being, I just want to kind of see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I don't want to lift something, cut it, and drop it down and be like, oh crap, there's some scalp. So as I go to cut the front of the haircut here, I want to keep in mind haircutting 101. The higher I lift something to cut it, the softer it's going to fall. The lower something sits when I cut it, the heavier it's going to fall. This is something that we all know. And it's, haircutting basics. So with this in mind, we're going to remember that we have uneven density between here, here, and here. So if I take uneven density and I were to pull it all in the same direction and cut it all the same way, what I would end up with is a perimeter with uneven density roughly here, here, and here. So because we have uneven density, we can't treat the hair all the same way. What we're going to do is keep in mind what I mentioned about basic haircutting 101, and we're going to take the thinner sides of the hair where we have less density, and we're going to pull that down to cut it because it's going to sit heavier. And then we're going to take the more dense areas and pull them out to cut them. And then afterward, if it's still sitting too heavy, I'll elevate it and cut it. And if it's still too heavy, I'm going to elevate it even more and cut it. And so what the goal here is when I shake the hair and test it, I want even density around the perimeter of this haircut at the bottom there. And again, we're going to do that by varying the elevation in the front. So here to begin, I'm going to take this hair in the middle and pull it straight out, kind of parallel to the floor, and cut it. I am lifting up those recession covers there, but I'm not cutting them. I'm using them as a guide to connect the hair in the middle. And you can see that since I've elevated it and dropped it down here, it's sitting much softer. But it's still not quite as soft as those thin corners. So I'm going to go back and pick it up, and I'm going to elevate it even a little bit higher and trim it down just a tiny little bit more. Again, the higher I lift it when I cut it, the softer it's going to fall. So at this point, when I push the hair down, you can see, just looking at the last quarter inch or half inch of hair there, the density is a lot more uniform across the front there. Now that I've kind of reached that first goal, I can go in and blow dry the hair. Just like any other blow dry, I'm going to start with high heat and high power to kind of rough dry the hair. And then once the hair is dry and fluffy and frizzy, I'm going to go back with a brush, high heat and low power to smooth things out. Now with this particular style, I don't want to pull everything too straight because I find that with thinning hair or fine hair, leaving a little bit of that natural wave in there can help to kind of fill in the space and make the hair kind of appear a little bit fuller. It also looks a little bit more natural, a little bit less try hard. You know, if everything's like flat iron straight looking, it looks like, oh, that guy really put his hair together. But by leaving the hair a little bit bent still, we're able to make the hair look like a happy accident, which is kind of the whole vibe of this cut, is it's supposed to look like a happy accident. So now that everything's been blow dried, I can go in and start refining this area here. And really, there's no exact rule. The two things I'm thinking about is, first, does it look good? And second, does it look uniform? Anytime I'm going to come in here and knock hair out of the middle, I want to elevate the hair to cut it so it sits softly. And if I am going to trim these corners down, again, I'm going to let them sit in their natural fall, and I'm going to cut them where they sit so I can see exactly what I'm getting. And there's no rule here as far as how long or short to do this. It's completely up to you. In fact, on this particular haircut, I think I leave this part well enough in just a moment here as I go through to texturize the rest of the haircut. But later on, I'm going to decide to go much shorter there, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So now that I'm going through the rest of the haircut, I feel like the front looks good enough. I'm going through the rest of the haircut to texturize it. I want to make sure that I'm not picking up those recession covers, because the last thing I want to do is pick it up, point cut through it, and then drop it down and see the recession. I want to make sure, again, that I only cut those hairs if they're sitting exactly where they're going to fall. But everywhere else, I can remove the hair from its natural fall to go in and point cut it, bash it up, whatever I want to do to it, because I'm not worried about showing too much scalp there. Again, coming up to this recession, I'm going to be very careful to make sure I'm not holding the recession cover there. In fact, I'll clip it out of the way at times if I'm worried I'm going to accidentally cut it. And that's, I'd say, roughly about good. Except, let's just say, hypothetical here, this client, due to their receding hairline, they feel like they haven't had cool hair in a very long time. And they want something, they go, you know what, I just want it to feel a little bit edgy. You can take the front here really, really short. I mean, at times I've basically lined up the middle of the forehead and then texturized and layered above it. So again, there's no rule here. You can just go as edgy as you want. And I personally think it's kind of rad when this front hair is super duper short. So here last minute, I just decided to do that and just chop it all out, just chunk it up there. Now that I feel like the haircut is about done, I'm gonna put some product in here. And I don't usually do this, but I'm just gonna try it, sue me. This is a product that I make. I've been making this for 10 years now, and I'll be blunt. If you buy this product, it affords me the time in my schedule to make videos like this one. I don't have any sponsors and I don't make any money on YouTube. And to be just completely blunt and honest, if you buy this product, I can afford to keep making videos like this. So thank you to everybody over the last 10 years who's been buying this. Really, really appreciate it. I'll put a link in the description to where you can find this product. So for a style like this, you barely need any product. A jar like that will last you honestly like 8 months or 9 months. It'll last just forever. What I'm gonna do is rub it really thin on my fingertips, and then I wanna reach kind of through the hair and apply it more to the scalp and less on the ends. Now, if you're doing this and the hair is like really, really, really frizzy, you probably need to blow dry it a little more, because the blow dryer is really what kind of reduces the frizz for the most part. This product just makes your hair a little bit sticky and gives you some separation. Another thing that works really well for a haircut like this is to kind of let your hair actually get dirty. Like, don't shampoo it as often. You'll find when it's dirty, it actually looks a little bit cooler. So here we just went from the creepy weird uncle to the cool uncle. I really like the way this turned out. In fact, it kind of reminds me of Damon Albarn's hair. That's the guy from the band Blur. He's got pretty cool hair all the time, and I kind of accidentally feel like I grabbed that vibe here. Anyway, so here's the end result. The California crop, as I like to call it. And yeah, I've never heard anybody else call it that, so maybe we can say that I coined that term. But that's a haircut that I do quite frequently in the salon these days. It's very low maintenance, it's very casual, and it works pretty well for a receding hairline.